Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiana. And this is your, what are we going to call this one? I don't even know. I could say, shut the fuck up, Tulsi. Or we could call this a chain reaction report. I mean, it's kind of a hybrid. We're going to talk tonight, and this is a bit of an expansion on the TikTok video I just recorded on this subject. So I've got a little more time for this one. We're going to talk tonight about Tulsi Gabbard and her full frontal attack on transgender Americans and the LGBTQ plus community. Because Tulsi is suddenly out there banning about the statistic that youth surgery, mostly top surgery for transgender people, has exploded by 386% over the last 5 years. And it's not that her numbers are wrong, they're actually quite correct. There has been one article written on the subject, but she is equating this with the radical left agenda. The fact of the matter is, there's nothing to do with the radical left agenda because there is no fucking agenda to change straight children into transgender people. That is not what's happening here. And there aren't any teachers actively grooming children in schools to become transgender. And there isn't a plot afoot, as some of the fucking talking heads would have you believe, that they're trying to take women's identities away by making men into women. So let's talk about it. Yes, the amount of top surgery has indeed gone up. It's gone up for a number of reasons, none of which are the fact that they're being groomed and mutilated by doctors. I believe the word mutilation was also used by Tulsi Gabbard. She can shut the fuck up. In fact, I just have to tell you this, statistics have shown that more youth are having breast augmentation or breast reduction than they are top surgeries to have their breasts removed to become males. And there are a lot more people who regret those moves than there are those who regret having top surgery to become males. Just so people understand that. I guess we don't have a problem with a 13-year-old having breast augmentation, right? No, of course not. Why not? No problem there. So let's talk. The statistics have gone up because children are more likely questioning who they are now than they ever did in my generation. And let me explain something to you. I'm 68 years old. I'm a lesbian. I have, swear to God, I've been a lesbian since the womb. I knew from a really young age that there was something very different about me, that I was in grammar school and I wasn't interested in any of the boys, but I was interested in their girlfriends. I knew at a very young age that there was no turning back for me. And I'm 68, and I can tell you right now, I've never been with a man sexually, and I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Sorry about that. There is no regret here. But these kids are more likely to be introspective and acting on it and learning about who they are than we ever were. We didn't have access to the same information and things that these kids do today. Okay? But to insinuate that children 13, 14, 15, up to the age of 18 can't understand who they are is ridiculous, because statistics have shown, and studies that have been done have shown, that transgender children usually know who they are at a young age and do not go back. I will put all of this information in here for you to read. I'm not going to give you a bunch of statistics tonight, okay? I'm going to talk to you straight from the hip here. Tulsi Gabbard, Candace Owen, and all of the rest of the transphobes, they use children as a means of building political clout. They use it to build their brands. They really aren't champions for children. They're bullshit artists is what they are. They're building political capital, because I'm going to tell you right now, I believe Tulsi Gabbard's going to run for public office as a conservative now, okay? And they're building their brands. If it brings them more readers, all the best. They don't really give a damn about the truth. The right wing does not give a damn about the truth. Their statistics are correct. Her statistics are correct. Her reasons for them, the numbers going up, are not based in fact, because they don't use fact. They don't care about fact, and they're counting on you to not check the facts. She's telling you that there are a ton of regrets and people who regret transitioning. Well, there are very few surgical things in life that are elective where there isn't some kind of regret in some ways, okay? I have a friend who had breast augmentation who wishes they never did. So be it. What can I tell you? And I have friends who have never had them and wish they had. What can I say? All right. There are very few things in life where there isn't some regret and some going back on. Okay. It's just the way it is. Nothing in this life is cut and dry, black and white. There's always a gray area. Okay. And there are people who have transitioned who made a mistake because maybe they were going through a mental health crisis at the time. But that's why before you go through any of this stuff, you have to have parental consent if you are under the age of 18 and doctors and psychologists letters to get that surgery. Okay. So not only am I a lesbian, but I have a 21-year-old who is transitioning from male to female. My child has never been comfortable one day in her life as a male. And I could even see that when she was young. I had her come to me when she was 5 and was a boy at the time and point to his crotch and say to me, I really don't want Mr. Weenie. He's driving me crazy. I did not encourage him to become a woman when he came to me. I simply said, well, you know, maybe you'll feel different about that when you're older. And I let it go. And we progressed through life. And I knew she was not comfortable through life with who she was. We have a child who was 21 who never actually stood up to urinate over a toilet like her friends. When my child was 16, my child came to me and said to me, how do you feel about transgender people? And I said, darling, your parents are lesbians. How do you think I feel about transgender people? Are you trying to tell me something? Because you're not telling me anything I don't already know. And things have been fine ever since then. My child began transitioning at the age of 17 with testosterone blockers. We have gone online together and looked at surgeons. She definitely wants bottom surgery. Doesn't know whether she wants to have the whole thing or just the cosmetic part. It's not sure yet, so we're not rushing into any of that. In fact, my child is not rushed into anything, has been transitioning now for almost 5 years. Has time to make the right decision. And I am willing to let her make that decision. I will not influence her in any way. Over the time my child has been on blockers, has gone through an amazing physical metamorphosis, a much softer face, redistribution of fat in the body to be more feminine looking, and is now, we just had our first in-person appointment. I sit in for the first few minutes and then I leave, looking at either adding another drug to help hasten the process or switching to another drug. That will not happen until her bloods are run and she can see, the doctor can see where she is on the spectrum for medication. All of this is done in a very organized fashion. My child is in therapy at the same facility. My child goes to Fenway Community Health in Boston, which has long served the LGBTQ community. When my wife and I first started talking about having children, we went to the Fenway. That was a very long time ago. So this is basically the upshot of all of this. Tulsi Gabbard's numbers and the reason behind them, you can find all of those reasons. If you go on the internet and look up that story, you will find that most of those stories come from Christian websites. I do not trust organized religion. I'm sorry. I was born a Catholic, raised a Catholic. I am an atheist. Happily, I might add. I don't believe in miracles. I don't believe in things I can't see. I don't believe in people I've not ever seen. I have family members who are very faith-oriented, but non-judgmental. My sister, for one. If that makes my sister happy, then that's her right to do that. I have no problem with any of that because she does not bring that to bear on anything she does in her life, but what she does with her life. And that's the way it should be. That's your religion. That's not everyone's religion. And last but not least, let me just say this. This is not necessarily something you outgrow. We all know that kids experiment. Okay, kids experiment with boys plays with dolls when they're young. Girls play cowboys and Indians. I did when I was a kid. I played baseball. I hated softball. The ball was too big. Any idiot could hit it. I played baseball with the boys. I played basketball with the boys. I hung out with the boys more than the girls, but I was not transgender. But I knew I was a lesbian. I have more male friends than I do female friends. And that's just the way life goes. The notion that a child, 13, 14, 15, 16, who believes they're transgender is going to just outgrow that, that doesn't happen. It is not a mental illness. Neither is being gay. It is not classified as a mental illness. Neither is being gay. Okay? And when you talk to people who have gone back on transgender, their transgender actions, you ask them why they did it. Many of them say parental pressure, family pressure, and the inability to get a job because they're discriminated against. Unfortunately, that's a sad reason to go back on something that makes you happy as a person. And that's a shame. It really is. Because ultimately, those people are in the danger zone emotionally. Eventually, that will catch up with them. And it's sad that they have to be put in that position. Now, I will also tell you that it's in the state of Massachusetts. It's a whole hell of a lot better to live here than it is to, say, live in a place, say, in Texas, where they've declared all-out war on the existence of transgender people. Children know who they are. And statistics have shown that very few children veer from that once they've looked at who they are and determined what they want to be. And we all know that there are risks associated with anything like this. But there are very few things in life where regret isn't a possibility. Okay? There are very few things in life where regret isn't a possibility. I regret some of my actions in life. I regret some of the jobs I took. I regret some of the people I got involved with. On a relationship basis. Regret is a part of life, unfortunately, like everything else. And you can transition back, just so you know, not a permanent state necessarily. I would also like to point out some statistics that are very real, that there are people in the age bracket that Tulsi Gabbard is talking about, much higher numbers of youth, again, I will say, getting cosmetic surgery, breast augmentation, or breast reduction. There are more statistics there, higher statistics there than there are for transgender surgeries. There are 337 million Americans, 1.6 million identify as transgender or non-binary. I would suggest to the politicians that they need to be talking about more of the things that are a detriment to the 337 million people than worrying about whether we stop transgender care for the 1.6 million who identify as transgender youth. Because stopping care for those children puts them at great emotional risk. Do we understand that? And some of the construct around banning these techniques is the same construct and conversation we have about abortion. It's a permanent thing. You're not capable of making your own decisions. That's what they tell women. Women aren't capable of making their own decisions. And that's what they're telling transgender youth. You're not capable of knowing who you are. Oh, of course not. No, the politicians are. Dr. Oz suggested that before a woman has an abortion, she should sit in a room with the doctor, her, and a politician. Oh, fuck yeah. What a great idea. Put a politician in there. Do you think for a nanosecond that Tulsi Gabbard or any of these other politicians, Greg Abbott, Ron DeSantis, really give a shit about your children? Because if you do, you're insane. What they care about is your child as political fodder, because using children to build political capital is a big thing in America. Why do you think politicians used to pick up babies and kiss them on camera? Come on, folks, get a clue here. Tulsi Gabbard doesn't know you, doesn't know your child, doesn't know anything about your life, is just looking to vilify teachers and doctors. And why do you think that is? To gain political capital. That's why. Your teachers aren't grooming your children to be transgender. Do you understand what grooming takes? Grooming, when you groom a child for sex, you're telling your child that there's nothing wrong with having sex, that your love for them is pure. If you're a pedophile, you know all the right things to say. Michael Jackson used to say that. My love is pure. They find ways to sit and talk to children like their children and rationalize this. No teacher I have ever known has done that with a child. I've asked my children, who are now 26 and 21, if they ever saw anybody grooming children for this. And they just looked at me like I was insane. This is not what's going on in America, folks. It isn't. No matter what these people on the right are telling you, this is not what's going on here. I will be putting a bunch of articles in here for you to read, okay? I don't want to sit here and read statistics to you about suicide rates if I don't have to, but I can. You know, 64% of transgender people are publicly humiliated. 34% are suicidal. I can give you those numbers, or you can just go in and read them for yourself and figure it out for yourself, because that's what we all should be doing, is not listening to talking heads who are out there to vilify groups of people. You know, it gives them another group of people to pick on in their course to make America great again. And I would like to also state this. Banning gender-affirming care for youth is a death sentence for those kids. It's a death sentence. Perhaps you don't understand that because perhaps you're comfortable in your body. And your lack of wanting to understand the mechanism and the reasons behind being transgender prevent you from actually looking at this in a rational manner. So what you're doing is you're politicizing a medical issue. That's really what's going on here. You're politicizing a medical issue for political capital. And the fact of the matter is that the government, Tulsi Gabbard, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen, Matt Walsh, none of these people should be involved in anything like this. This is not their business. The government's business does not reside with your personal health care. When your child makes a decision about being transgender, or when you make a decision about being transgender, that is between you, your doctor, your mental health provider, and your parent if you're underage. If you're 18 or older, it is your decision. And the government has no right to be in your bedroom, in your life, or telling you what clothes you should be buying or what gender you should be. That's your decision. The right wing continually talks about government overreach. I'm going to tell you right now that banning transgender care for youth is government fucking overreach. Period. I'm suggesting to you that the reason the right wing talks about this stuff is because they're incapable, actually, of tackling the real problems we have here in America. They're no longer talking about inflation or the price of gas or the price of food or the recession like they were before the election, because that's all done with now. And they don't have any solutions for you. So they're turning their attention to other things, like investigating Hunter Biden, getting involved in transgender people's lives, and lying to the American public. And I would like to point out to Tulsi Gabbard that her starting this assault on the transgender community and their caregivers and the teachers who support them in school is particularly heinous in light of the fact that there was just another hate crime where somebody went into a gay bar, a place where when I was young, we all could go there to feel like a community, and we fucking loved it. We were free, we were open, we were accepted, and we had no problem. But now in the land of automatic weapons, gay people, transgender people, they can't even go there and be safe anymore in their own place. They have to worry about being fucking killed for who they are. And Tulsi Gabbard coming out now on an offense like this at a time like this, when 5 people were just murdered and 25 injured in a gay bar in Colorado Springs, is nothing short of disgusting and heinous. And it's time for all of this shit to stop. I'll put all these articles in here. You can read them. You can choose not to read them. But please, do not think you're going to come and argue with me and you're going to be able to change my mind on this subject. I will bury you, in fact. I promise you. I'll talk to you all later.